Please welcome back our Master of Ceremonies, Rajan Datar.
Hello. Come on, I want some energy back in the room. It's after lunch, I know. I know what it feels like. You've eaten, you're kind of going, but no, it's too important this afternoon's sessions to do that. Oh, look, there's a very important bell. Did you enjoy your lunch? Yep. Did you meet any interesting new people? Yes? I'm glad you said yes, because if you hadn't said yes, I would have made you hug the person next to you, which I still will unleash at some point during the 2 days. But anyway, well done for that. Now, Slido, I know we didn't have time this morning because things were running over, but we will definitely try and create time for you to ask those questions. So what you have to do is take a picture of that QR code. You then can ask questions that you want to do anonymously. No one will know who you are, so you can make it really like biting as a question. And this panel here will, well, for example, will answer it. Sorry, this headphone's a bit funny. Now then, crucially, the WTTC say that more than 12% of the world's jobs are in the travel and tourism sector. So let's get people orientated now. How we recruit the workforce, how we treat the workforce, how we train the workforce, how we empower the workforce, and how we live up to the principles of ESG. That is the topic of this session with some brilliant thinkers and practitioners, because thriving tourism depends on a comprehensive approach to people management, encompassing every facet from communication and destination management to nurturing a skilled workforce. So let us meet our expert panel.
Please wish a warm welcome to our speakers for Plenary 7 session. Jessica Matthias, Director Global Sustainability, SABRE Corporation.
Hey.
Anne Lauter, Executive Director, GTTP. Yasin Kachoric, Deputy Chief of Party, USAID Developing Sustainable Tourism in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Christian Delhomme, Secretary General, A World for Travel. Jay Cowpert, Conscious CEO, the Transformation Travel Council. And finally, welcoming our moderator, Rika Jean-François, Mission Respo founder, former Commissioner, Corporate Social Responsibility, ITB, Head of International Business Relations, Queer Destinations.
Thank you, and thank you, first of all, for having us. Thank you for inviting us to speak about this very important subject. And yeah, very happy to be in Herzegovina, and I think I speak for all of you to say that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the lunch. It's a little bit difficult after lunch, and we try not to be boring. So we will really do our best to address the subject. And as you might have seen, to talk about ESG, which is more or less like corporate social responsibility, it's environmental and social responsibility, and also to talk about DEI, which is diversity, equity, inclusion, and to talk about how to enhance the workforce. It's a huge subject. And we have 45 minutes, and we have 5 panelists who each of them is a specialist. So I don't really know how we can do that in 3/4 of an hour, but we will try our best. You know, the subject, as I said, is very huge, so I will pose questions to each of my panelists together. So I won't switch from one to the other because the subjects are too different to switch all the time. So as we all know, there's a strong interconnection, of course, between the different inputs, DEI, ESG, and workforce enhancement. And to practice real and profitable sustainability, we need to include the social momentum, which brings ESG and DEI into the game, because there is no sustainability without social responsibility. And this has been underestimated for a very long time, and that was wrong. Because what we can do, we need a holistic and a comprehensive approach to tourism. We need to align the quest for profit, as you said, with the imperatives of gender equality, but also social empowerment in general. So, and in companies, we need a corporate environment that fosters innovation and inclusion. So the goal of this session, in a way, is for a destination like Bosnia-Herzegovina to understand the complexity and what it really needs to transform tourism if you also include the social transformation. So an adequate destination management, instead of mere promotion, as we all know, needs to include the voices also of the local communities, because they have an important role as tourism stakeholders. And the expectations of the customers are also changing. The new generations will be asking for a more inclusive product, you can be sure. So, what we all know by now is also that an unlimited growth on a limited planet is not possible. So we need to change the way we are treating the environment and the way we treat each other in order to guarantee the future of tourism, the future of our product. With climate change going on, if we don't develop a sustainable product, there will be no tourism at some point. So that brings me, without further saying, right into the subject. And I want to ask Jake, who, as you see, is the founder of the Transformational Travel Council and Institute. So he's very strongly supporting this transformational thought, and he has an idea of how we could really transform any travel. So Jake, tell us, why do you think, after all, that we need a shift in the way we're thinking, and what kind of transformative process do you suggest?
That's a big question, Rika.
We have big questions here today.
Well, thank you. First, I just want to say thanks to you, Rika, and to my fellow panelists, and just really fantastic to be around such incredible change makers. You're all very much an inspiration to me, and it's an honor to be here. So I would start by saying that we saw some really fantastic data this morning from some of the fellow speakers around tourism being back. I think that, but I do think that's limited in its purview. I think that because the visitor traffic is back, because there might be more economic benefit than there ever is before, does that mean that tourism is thriving? I feel that once we, if we're unable to get back into equilibrium, if we're not able to find more of a balance and take a more holistic approach and perspective to the work that we're doing, then we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing in travel and tourism. And as you know, right now we're facing all sorts of systemic issues in tourism, from over-tourism to the carbon's impact on the climate crisis, from corporate greed and the local communities not benefiting the way that they should, and a lack of meaningful experiences out there. I think that's thrusted tourism into a existential crisis, and so that's what we're trying to address. As an example, with the Sustainability Development Goals 2030, we're only 20% of the way there. That points to a systemic issue of us relying on tactics and techniques that may not be driving the change and the positive outcomes for all that we aspire to.
So how do you do it?
Yeah, but there is hope, right? There's organizations and conferences and movements around resilience and innovation that are shifting their ideas and their perspectives. And a lot of that is shifting, away from or AI has given us a gift to come back to our human-centered outputs and our human-centered innovations, almost back to our own human nature, if you will. So a transformative process, what does that look like? And this can be a cross category, whether you're a destination, whether you're an organization, travel company, is one that is based on the understanding that transformation is the missing link in most of our pro-social, pro-environmental initiatives, right? And when we bring in DEI and ESG and workforce, they're often lacking understanding of their own perceptions, understanding of their own stereotypes, understanding or lacking their own meaning and purpose. So a process that helps to integrate and transform an organization or an entity, just like a human entity, is one that just as fundamentally looked at it as this understanding of where am I now, where do I want to go, and how am I going to get there, right? So it's this process of looking within. Inner work drives towards outer impact and positive change. So that's a transformative process.
Can you give us a practical example?
Absolutely. Let me get to my notes. Here we go. We work with hotels, tour companies, destinations, and one destination specifically that we're working with now is Town of Vail in Colorado, USA. So they came to us with a very expensive and beautifully architected Vail stewardship roadmap. And just real briefly, some of the highlights were to make Vail more livable, increase commitment to stewardship, reduce carbon from 50% in 2030 to 80% in 2050. They want to energize their brand and position better for that Gen Z market. They want to cultivate a sense of caring, and ultimately they also want to enhance their world-class experience strategy. To do this, you have to ignite a shift from within the community that builds the community back up from the inside out and the ground up. This unifies in a way that shared values create shared vision, and you're able to get an empowered participation that actually moves the community into action, into activation. We use a five-phase process that starts with, you guessed it, introspection, opportunity to go within, understand your why, your values, why are you there as an individual, what's the role you play, and what is the role that the community plays in its own systemic thrivability. The next is bridging, understanding each other, understanding your perception of each other, understanding how to break down the mindset of me versus we. Start working together, get out of the competition mindset, start to cooperate from a place of potential that's focused on people and place. And then third, expansion. This is where new learning, new ideas, new designs come forward, right, that are more aligned with our own human nature, that allows for a community to thrive. And then we've got the integration and integration stage. This is where we take our new learning, our new ways of being, our new ways of doing, our planning, our strategies, and we implement, right? But this is different than implementation in a traditional sense because it's coming from a place within. And so that's where you start to get into the co-evolution. So within that community that's working together and with that new learning, new design, from a place of inside out, you start to evolve the destination around a community of practice. That community of practice becomes a whole system that's taking a holistic approach to creating that thriving community that's connected, cooperative, caring, and conscious.
So designing these new experiences, you think this can be done anywhere?
I do, yeah. So there's this shift, and we're focused on Vail here. So one of their deliverables is to enhance world-class experience design. So there's this shift. We've heard experiential many times through the day, from the experience to the transformation economy. The experience economy is rooted with Joe Pine. If you've read his book, The Experience Economy, it's one of the best business books of all time. We still sit in the experience economy. Most of us are providing and staging experiences. That evolution, which is the progression of economic value, according to Joe Pine, started with goods, evolved to services. We provide each other services, and then it went into staging experiences. Now the last one in that progression of economic value is how do you guide transformations? So it's taking a series of experiences, but it's a focus on better understanding your customer, your traveler, your guest. What are the goals? What are the aspirations? What do they want to get out of that experience? And then designing an experience accordingly. Often that's a shift into like the why and how.
Yeah, I think that's too far. But you know that you need to talk to him. Whenever there's a break now, and these days we will be here also tomorrow. So talk to him if you want to get to know more about this very interesting initiative. So I want to go to Christian now, because I know that Christian is also very engaged. We were together in Portugal, you did the EVRA Forum. You have a long history of being with Atout France and so on. But you were also always an environmentalist. So I know that you had been working, for instance, in the Pyrenees, you know, as an advisor with your own advisory company. So let us know, this change of mindset, was that also a part of this work, any work when you work to transform a destination into a sustainable and responsible destination? Is that also part of your, can you understand what he was talking about?
Well, it's about the same story. In the Pyrenees, I'm just going to give some figures and to describe the destination for you to understand afterwards how we are going to transform it. It's a ski resort destination, mostly devoted to the winter season. We have 70% of the revenue for tourism in the snow season. I don't say winter season, but snow season, it's important. And the rest, 30% for the summer season mainly, and the other ones. But the frequentation is not the same, and this is the problem. It's off. So we have of the frequentation that are producing 30% of the revenue. And what happens now? Well, it's a huge destination. We have 1.2 million daily ski pass. We have 1.6 million of overnights, so it's not a huge one, but it's not a tiny one. So more than half of the territory economy, because I am town councillor in charge of tourism and of culture. So I have this in mind. More than half of the economy, employment and so on, are devoted to tourism. So it's not nothing what is happening. And what is happening is that climate changes. And the climate is creating less revenue at the end, not yet. We are coping with the changes now, and we have recovered from the COVID situation.
Yeah, so what did you do? I mean, yeah.
Yes, but barely. It's very, very, very difficult to achieve it. And there is another concern that there will have less and less people skiing, and the younger people are not skiing as they used to. So there are two collapses, two crises, the crisis of the demand and the crisis of the climate. So what we consider that we needed to look backwards. 1 century ago, we were a climate destination, a climate resort. And what about when you are in the high, at 800 meters high, what about coming back to this positioning? And that's exactly what we are doing. We are, but what does it mean? It means a lot of invest, first of all, a lot of money, because you need new equipment, new and adaptable accommodation facilities, complementary businesses, another scope of transport and mobility, and of course, different jobs. And in the wintertime, you have ski instructor, but in the summertime, you need cultural guide, for instance. So you cannot transform ski instructor into cultural guide. That's one of the concerns. So it's a question, what about strategy? So we are focused on who is running the strategy. Mostly the public sector is running the strategy, because the private sector can provide some elements, but not the whole scope of the elements. We are speaking with the private sector, with the investors, with the people coming and bringing money and ideas, but it's not enough. The second issue is you need to address different marketing segment. In the wintertime, you have people who can afford skiing. In the summertime, it's not the case. It's not the same people. It's not the same scope. It's not exactly the same money. And what about the brown? When you have a brown devoted to the ski, the brown is not adapted to the other season. So that's why we created a new brown.
Yeah.
But the new brown must be adopted by the population as well.
Yeah, so tell us more about this new product.
And the new product is based on culture, because we have an extraordinary, from 11th century to 16th century, a fresco and mural paintings, heritage that it's amazing. I mean, absolutely similar to what you can find in Tuscany, and we didn't use it yet. Yeah. We have a natural heritage as well. 80% of the territory is protected with a natural park, a national park, 2 regional parks. So we are going, and we have built new offer. For instance, we used to be a spa destination, so we rebuilt the spa.
Okay.
We built also a thermoludic center, a recreative spa center. Okay. That is the first one all over France in the mountain with 300,000 visitors. So this is very important to create a new offer and to evaluate your assets, because
so
we had
sorry, Christian, I don't want to interrupt you, but because we can talk hours about that. That's very interesting, and I think it's also an issue that you can discuss in the breaks, because I think it's also for Bosnia Herzegovina interesting, because it's also a ski destination, and as you said, when the Olympics took place, there was no snow, only the last day. So we are all destinations with snow destinations do that. But just give us one more last sentence about this mind-changing thing. Why does that also change the perspective?
You know what helps too is we have a neighbor in Spain, and we created a unique destination with the Spanish part and the French part, with European funds. Oh. And this is crucial. Why? Because by discussing with the Spanish, our identity was preserved. You know, we were speaking with the others, sharing more than competing. And this created a real possibility to go forward and to make the population adopt the idea, because the population on both sides that they have ever had relationship, family, social, industry, commerce.
Yeah, I think
so this is, you can go back. My advice, you must to look backwards, and you can realize you have more assets than you think you have.
So innovation is also looking backwards sometimes.
But reinventing.
Reinventing
you look backward,
things.
you reinvent.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think there are some learnings everybody can take away from that. And it's, again, collaboration, how much we need to look at our neighbors and work together with our neighbors. So, that brings me to you, Yasanka. Please, what is your experience, especially here in Bosnia-Herzegovina, with change first, because we were talking about change, and but also how can we foster change? And this is also through education. And I know that you had been responsible for this wonderful academy also for many years. So maybe you can give us your thoughts on what has been said already and on your strategy and how to face.
Thank you, Rika. So we spoke a lot about USA Tourism Project, but we didn't mention one fact, which is that we started in August 2020, when the country was totally closed due to COVID. We started implementing tourism project during COVID. So this is really where you need to be both innovative and resilient to make sure that you start with adding value to the industry from the day one. So we had really ambitious training targets. As you mentioned, that's one of the activities in the project scope. So we understood that there is no way that we will be able to train these people in person. Therefore, we decided and we have developed the first ever industry online learning tool. We developed it in our local language just to make sure that this acceptance of the new tool is made a bit easier by offering it in our language. So we really thought from every different aspect, what is it that we can do to first get the industry to understand the value of what we are offering, and what we were and still are offering are the global best practices. This is how we believe the industry will develop, will prosper, will become resilient, because we are not really learning from zero. We are collecting the best practice, therefore, in a way, shortening the learning curve that people have to go through, because we are still a developing tourism destination. We have wonderful country, but we still need to develop workforce systems, processes, have everything in place to really capitalize on what we have to offer. We, other than the Tourism Academy, of which we are very proud, because we are really trailblazers in that respect, but also many other respects, we always thought in kind of multi-pronged approach. So we thought about, using digital tools for these lessons as a Tourism Academy. We are working directly with the businesses, private sector, to help them train their workforce at work through our program Pathways to Professionalism. Because, this enables the supervisors to work directly with their workers to make sure that what we achieve is standardization of service, because this is really what makes difference.
So does that also include, in a way, what we've been talking about, like a change of mindset? Have you seen in the students that there is a change of mindset in comparison to former years? And also, if we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, does that also include to open up to minorities or for a marginalized group to be open to include real diversity and inclusion?
So we are all about changing the mindset. As I told you, we started with this. Tourism Academy, we are working with supervisors, with businesses directly. What I wanted just to add is that this is how we also ensure sustainability, because we are training people who will be the future trainers. In terms of changing mindset, I don't know even where to start. We have been the first project that's fully tourism-focused, financed by US government. We understood that we lack several important documents. One of those is Disability Inclusion Plan. Because to be resilient, you really need to make sure you're including everybody. So everybody is given a chance, not only to be a tourist in an accessible destination. This is what we are working now on, set of guidelines and documents to help our local industry understand why is accessibility needed. Just to say one thing, if you have 1.3 billion people in the world living with some sort of disability, it is clear, that you really have good reason to make sure you offer them this opportunity. But also, we were thinking from the other side, from the side of the industry, that should be able to hire people with disabilities and expand the human capital for the tourism industry. So we are working on that side as well. And then finally, I'm really happy to say that our project has really walked the talk, to put it that way. We were able to offer internship to one wonderful young girl with the Down syndrome, which was also an opportunity for her to experience working with us, but also for our team to experience working in an inclusive environment.
Thank you. Well, this is wonderful, but if we talk about diversity, it also includes other things like ethnic background, sexual orientation, or inability, if you call it inability, but it's very complex. And I know that an international company like SABRE, of course, they really also work in the full context, and I would really like to know more about your ESG policy, which includes also diversity, equity, inclusion, because I know that it needs an intercultural approach, because you're really working in so many destinations, and this also needs intercultural skills, because as you said, there are different challenges in different countries, but all these challenges can turn into opportunities if we address them, if we just don't look away. So, Jessica, I would be very happy if you could explain a little bit of what you at SABRE are doing in this field.
Sure, thank you, Rika. And just for those that don't know what SABRE is, first of all, SABRE is a global technology company. We serve specifically the travel industry, so we have software solutions for airlines, hotels, and travel agencies, so across the spectrum. We are a company of around 7,000 people globally, operating in around 60 plus countries. So diversity, inclusion, and equity is something that's really woven into the fabric of what we do. We're a company that's built on innovation. We sell ourselves on innovation. And we have so many talented and diverse people from so many different backgrounds and groups that we really need to create a culture that makes those people feel comfortable, supported, valued, and equally free to express their ideas and opinions, regardless of where they're from, which culture, which background, which sexual orientation. It doesn't matter. We want everybody to feel like they have that supportive environment that they need in order to innovate and to bring their best selves to work. So, I mean, SABRE has been pretty strong on the diversity and inclusion front for several years now. But in the last few years, one of the main things that we've done to really weave this into the fabric of what we do is to create a network of diversity and inclusion groups around the world. So these are really to make sure that every community that wants a group is represented and has that kind of safe space and supportive group of other people in their similar situation that they can share ideas with. The great thing about these groups is that they are not a top-down approach. There is no leadership involved in the running of these groups. They are purely run by employees for employees. They do, however, have the support of leadership, and each group has a leader which sponsors the group and just kind of gives it that kind of weight. But yeah, these groups are really sort of the grains of our culture. They're really woven into everything that SABRE does. And I think that's so important when you've got such a big and diverse and geographically spread out company, that you really create a platform where everybody feels they're equally able to contribute.
Yeah, I think it's also maybe important to put an emphasis on why it is good to do that. I mean, it's also for the benefit of a company, because a company and a business, a tourism business, can only, and even a destination, thrive if they embrace diversity and inclusion, I think. And it is also about creating a workforce, a diverse workforce, because only then you can invite other clients to come. If they, and the clients also from different ethnic backgrounds, they only feel welcomed if they see themselves reflected in the promotional images. So I think this is internally very important, but also externally. So I know that you have been setting up, because you also need to include the local knowledge. It would be a shame not to use the local knowledge. So you have been creating something also in Eastern Europe, I know, a network, right?
Yeah. Well, I can talk, that's kind of on the environmental side of our ESG strategy, so I can talk a little bit about that and then how we kind of localize our strategy. So SABRE really a year ago was at the beginning of its sustainability journey. We didn't have a dedicated sustainability / ESG department We had strong social elements, so the inclusion and diversity piece was already very strong, but we didn't have anybody that was sort of working across the E, the S, and the G, particularly the E, the environmental piece. So that was why my role was created as Sustainability Director. It was a year ago, so I'm now approaching a year in the role, and it was really starting from the offset with sustainability, particularly the environmental piece, because we hadn't had that function before. So one of the ways, I mean, in sustainability, we're a team of 2 in a company of 7,000. So we're not going to tackle the challenge alone and roll our sustainability strategy out alone. So we quickly had to think, well, how can we get our global workforce excited about sustainability and caring really about the planet and the impact of travel? So what we did first of all carried out a survey of all of our 7,000 people to gauge their appetite for sustainability and just really find out what they thought and what they wanted. And we were actually really overwhelmed with the amount of appetite there was for SABRE to do more on the sustainability front. And also the appetite among our employees to get involved and be part of it, to have more resources, to have more channels to express their ideas and opinions on sustainability. So having these opinions made it easier to then roll out various initiatives, because we could roll out initiatives that people care about and that they said they actually wanted in this survey. So following that, we then we launched a sustainability community of practice, which is a network of regional groups around the world. We have 7 groups at the moment, and these are really people who are passionate around SABRE, about sustainability and about doing things that help the planet in what we do. So again, it's a great way, because we have a global sustainability strategy now, but we can't alone reach every single person in each local office that we have. So these groups are really key for us to take our global strategy and make sure that resonates at a local level. The closest local group to here, it's not really local to the Western Balkans, but it's Poland. We have 1,500 people in our Krakow office, and since we've launched this community of practice network, that Poland group has actually been responsible for launching recycling initiatives in the office, doing local river cleanups in their local community, setting up quarterly blood donation services for employees. So doing a lot of fantastic work, and when other employees in that building have seen what's happening, they also want to get involved. They then want to know more about our global strategy. So it really works as a way of getting right into the localities, which you wouldn't necessarily be able to do otherwise.
Wonderful, thank you. So once again, we see that we really all need to cooperate, whether it's universities, research, companies, global companies, because this is a success story, and others will learn from it. It's a best practice, and what you were doing in your destination. So and the cooperation with the neighbors, as you said. So I think they're all good solutions. But last not least, really not least, listening to all this, Anne. So what would you say, how to create an environment that fosters inclusion from an educational point of view?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because I know from the World Travel and Tourism Councils, they run a survey of their stakeholders to ask what the requirement was, what the 10 key points were for them. And number 1 was need for staff. And so we've got to look at how we bring that inclusivity into the youth sector in order to ensure that they engage with the sector, engage with travel and tourism. And I think 80% of young people start their tourism journey at entry level. So we need to look at when we start educating them in this sector. And we at Global Travel and Tourism Partnership started about 16, but I think we can bring that earlier, introducing them to travel and tourism generally, and introducing them to this vast ecosystem, because there are so many avenues that they can take in order to engage. And customer service as well, that's another key area. We need to develop the professional skills of our youth in order to ensure that when they join the sector, they can deliver at a level that's acceptable to all.
which skills do you think are currently missing in the tourism workforce?
Well, a couple of the skills, customer service is one that's the cornerstone of what we do. We are all about people, and if we haven't got the customer service right, we lose that. You can build a beautiful hotel and you can staff it with people, but if they can't deliver at the ground, there's an issue straight away. So we really need to look at how we work with customer service, literacy skills and digital skills as well, as SABRE was saying, and also the sustainability practices, and I would love to speak to SABRE more about how we can engage what they're doing from a sustainable point of view into the educational sector in order to encourage our young people to consider this through their sustainability viewpoint as an option for work as well.
So also, can you give us a successful example when you talk about cooperation? Because we were talking about cooperation, you were just mentioning how important it is to cooperate also with the private sector. So this is your main work actually. So give us some examples of how to
I think to collaborate on training programs is essential. You know, to be a bridge between the stakeholder and the educators, and to work with industry to see what industry needs, to see where those skills are lacking, and what we need to do as educators to fulfill that gap. I think soft skills are very important. Our young people don't have enough of those soft skills, of those workforce readiness skills given to them. You know, and even if they don't end up in the travel and tourism sector, all those skills are very transferable. And it's up to educators to really consider how they can operate across these skill sets that are required in school, in high school, in tertiary education before that person goes out into the world. Knowledge sharing as well, and mentorships. You know, for industry to offer mentorships, apprenticeships, internships, and to engage at a much earlier age with our youth, to go into schools, to talk to them about their industry, to talk to them about the fabulous opportunities. You know, all of us in this room know how wonderful this industry is because we work in it. Our youth don't know that. And it's how do we communicate that to them, to really engage them and excite their interest and fulfill this huge gap, 60 million vacancies worldwide across travel and tourism.
But what about sometimes it's, well, we are not getting well paid, especially women?
That is an issue, and stakeholders will need to consider their policies. Diversity as well is one of those policies, and what are they offering? What kind of package are they offering? Because they're tempted to go elsewhere for all those reasons we know about the work hours, about whether they can be at home with the family at the weekends, about what they get paid, or whether they can work from home and get paid more than coming to work in a hotel, for example. And I think those best practices need to be shared. It is about that cooperation again, cooperating between industry and education and building those bridges so that we can all move forward on this issue.
Yes, thank you. So I think we have time. Wow, that's great for one last question, because we wanted to know from your individual, each of you, professional point of view, which recommendation would you give to our wonderful hosts, an upcoming destination like Bosnia and Herzegovina to focus on in the field, especially of CSR, and diversity, equity, inclusion, and workforce development, each of you from your point of view. So what would you say?
Yeah, I would say that I've spent the last few days exploring with a group that's here, and I really was able to connect with the spirit of Bosnia and the opportunity that they have to adopt a transformative experience strategy. Not only does it instill more purpose and meaning and connection within your community and within the organization, but that transformational traveler, that Gen Z traveler, provides tremendous value to your destination and to your community. You know, they stay longer, they spend more, they're more socially aware, they're more sustainable, and they have better stories to tell.
Yeah, thank you. Christian?
I would say, remain yourself. You need benchmark, of course. We can provide some ideas, but don't follow all of them, because you have not to deduplicate what is existing elsewhere. And the experience begins from what you can provide genuinely from your herd, your identity, your population, and of course, be proud of what you're doing.
Thank you. Yes, I also want to invite you, because we don't speak about you, we talk together.
We talk to you.
Yeah.
So, from our perspective of the development project, sustainability and resilience means really expanding opportunity. And this is why some of the activities or some of the initiatives that I have mentioned have really looked as broad as possible, as comprehensively as possible, to expand the opportunity for people with disabilities, women, young people, to draw them to the industry, to teach them or to let them know how, exciting, dynamic this industry is. Because what we believe, at least from this perspective, there are many perspectives that we are looking at from our project, but from this perspective, our ability to include the broader community, develop their abilities, their skills, this is what is going to create our future resilient tourism with strong human capital. That is one of the prerequisites for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would suggest that you engage with your stakeholders as early as possible. Bring them into the classroom. Show them what the industry is all about. And offer those experiential learning experiences for our students. Because when they become part of the organization, they're more likely to stay with it. And it's really how we bring them into the family at an earliest possible stage in their educational journey.
Thank you. Jessica?
Yeah, I think similar to what Jake said about, this is an exciting, fast-growing and nascent region for international tourism. So you really have an opportunity here to embed sustainability from the beginning. So to become known straight away as a sustainable, responsible destination. And also I would say focus on people's passions. It's clear from people who are here today that we're not short on people that are passionate and care about sustainability. What we do need is to equip them with the right resources and support to bring their ideas to life, and really let those people run the show, because a little passion goes a long way. When it rubs off on others, when somebody sees you being passionate, then it's likely to ignite the same.
Thank you. Yeah, so what to say? I think we all know that with all these mistakes which have been made in the past, not here, but everywhere in the world, we really know by now that because of over-tourism, because of climate change, which is happening, because of social crisis and so on, we really need to act. And we really need to transform tourism to make it a more social product. And because we all know that tourism can really open doors. So I think we have the obligation, we need to do that, to not to forget it, don't do the same mistakes everywhere here in this world, and to really collaborate to be, to have a future, that our product can have a future. Because if we destroy it because we don't do anything with climate change around the corner, then there won't be a product anymore, and we couldn't have all these wonderful conferences. So, yeah, and my last word maybe, may peace prevail, because without peace, there is no tourism. So thank you so much for being here and giving us the opportunity to discuss sustainable development and social responsibility in tourism. Thank you.